Chapter 1, The Elvian Estate. The morning sun, a benevolent golden orb, cast long, dancing shadows across the meticulously manicured gardens of the Elvian Duchy. It kissed the dew-kissed petals of crimson roses and illuminated the ancient, ivy-clad stones of the manor house, painting the scene with a warmth that seemed to defy the whispers of a world growing cold. Here, nestled deep within a valley renowned for its fertile lands and artistic heritage, life unfolded with a gentle rhythm, a symphony of peace that had, for generations, been the hallmark of the Elvian name. Alyssa, a girl of 14 years, with hair the color of midnight and eyes that held the clear, boundless blue of a summer sky, emerged onto the grand terrace. A light breeze, carrying the scent of honeysuckle and damp earth, playfully tugged at the hem of her simple, yet elegant, linen dress. She paused, taking a deep, contented breath, her gaze sweeping over the familiar landscape. To her left, the sprawling vineyards promised a bountiful harvest, their rows of verdant leaves shimmering in the morning light. To her right, the training grounds, usually alive with the clang of steel and the shouts of the Duchy's guards, lay momentarily quiet, awaiting the day's drills. Her heart, still untainted by the harsh realities of the world beyond their valley, swelled with a quiet joy. This was her home, her sanctuary, a place where laughter echoed through grand halls and love was as abundant as the wild flowers that dotted the surrounding meadows. She was the eldest child of Duke Al and Duchess Fi, a lineage that carried both privilege and responsibility, though Alyssa felt only the former in these halcyon days. A blur of black and white darted past her feet, a playful chase that ended with a soft thud against her legs. Kuro, a sleek, obsidian cat with eyes like polished emeralds, purred contentedly as he rubbed against her, demanding attention. Shiro, his counterpart, a pristine white feline with sapphire eyes, watched from a sun-drenched patch of stone, a picture of serene elegance. These two, more than mere pets, were silent, furry members of the family, their presence a comforting constant in Alyssa's life. She knelt, stroking Kuro's soft fur, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "Good morning, my little shadows," she murmured, her voice a melodic whisper. Kuro responded with another rumbling purr, while Shiro finally deigned to join them, arching his back against her hand. They were her confidentes, her silent listeners, privy to all her youthful dreams and anxieties. Footsteps, light and quick, announced the arrival of her younger brother, Asuka. At 11, Asuka was a whirlwind of boundless energy and earnest ambition. His silver hair, a striking contrast to Alyssa's dark locks, often fell into his determined blue eyes, which held a spark of loyalty and a yearning for adventure. He carried a small, wooden training sword, already nicked and scuffed from countless imaginary battles. "Alyssa! You re-up early," he exclaimed, his voice bright and eager. He skidded to a halt beside her, his gaze fixed on the training grounds. "I heard Father talking to Captain Valerius yesterday. They repracticing new formations today. I wonder if I can watch." Alyssa ruffled at his hair, a fond exasperation in her eyes. "Always the warrior, little brother. But breakfast. Mother will be cross if we re-late." Their mother, Fi, at 30 years of age, was the very embodiment of grace and warmth. Her gentle smile could soothe any troubled heart, and her hands, though capable of managing the vast household, were always soft and comforting. She was the quiet strength of the Elvian family, her wisdom often conveyed through a knowing glance or a tender touch. Their father, Al, a man of 35 was a figure of quiet authority and unwavering integrity. His presence commanded respect, not through bluster, but through a deep-seated honor and a keen intellect. He was a just ruler, beloved by his people, and a devoted husband and father. His dark hair, streaked with a few distinguished silver threads at the temples, framed a face that bore the marks of thoughtful leadership and profound kindness. As they made their way to the dining hall, the sounds of the manor began to stir. The distant clatter of pots from the kitchens, the hushed conversations of servants, the faint strains of a lute being tuned in the music room, all contributed to the comforting symphony of their daily lives. The Elvian Duchy was not merely a grand estate, it was a vibrant, living entity, sustained by the dedication of its people and the benevolent rule of its duke. During breakfast, a lively FFR fire led with the aroma of freshly baked bread and sweet berry preserves. Duke El spoke of the day's AFFRs. The harvest looks promising this year, Fi. We should have enough to send a generous portion to the capital, as well as ensure our own stores are well stocked for winter. Duchess Fi smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. That is good news, my love. The people will be pleased. Alyssa listened, half attentive, as her father discussed trade routes and diplomatic relations with a neighboring lord. These were the mundane, yet vital, concerns of a duke, ensuring the prosperity and stability of his lands. Aska, meanwhile, was more interested in the latest news from the training grounds, his fork forgotten amidst his excitement. It was then that a hushed conversation from a group of servants near the kitchen entrance caught Alyssa's ear. Their voices were low, laced with a nervous energy that was unusual for the usually cheerful household staff. She strained to hear, catching snippets of words. King Theron. Heavy taxes. War with Oakhaven. Her father, seemingly oblivious to the servants' whispers, continued his discussion. But Alyssa felt a prickle of unease. War. The word itself felt alien in their peaceful valley. She had heard tales, of course, of distant conflicts and political machinations in the capital, but they had always seemed like stories from another world, far removed from their tranquil existence. Later that day, while practicing her embroidery in the sunlit conservatory, Alyssa overheard her mother and father speaking in hushed tones. Their voices, usually so open and warm, were now laced with a subtle tension. She pretended to be engrossed in her stitches, her ears straining to catch their words. The king's demands are growing, Fi said, her voice soft but troubled. The latest levy. It's unprecedented. The people are already struggling. El sighed, a heavy sound that seemed to carry the weight of the world. I know, my dear. I've sent letters to the other dukes, expressing our concerns. But King Theron is desperate. The war with Oakhaven is not going well, and his co-FFRs are empty. And Senator Vane? Fi asked, a note of distaste in her voice. He seems to have the king's ear more than ever. I hear he has been pushing for harsher measures. Alyssa's finger stilled on her embroidery. Senator Vane. She knew the name, of course. A powerful figure in the capital, known for his sharp mind and even sharper ambition. But her father had always spoken of him with a certain wariness, a subtle disapproval that Alyssa had never fully understood. Now, a cold knot formed in her stomach. Vane is a dangerous man, El Confie Remed, his voice grim. He preys on weakness, and the king is weak. He has been whispering of traitors within, of those who would undermine the crown for their own gain. It is a thinly veiled threat against anyone who questions the king's authority. Alyssa's heart pounded. Traitors? Who could possibly be a traitor in their loyal kingdom? And why would Senator Vane be speaking of such things? The idyllic bubble of her world seemed to shimmer, threatening to burst. That evening, as the family gathered for their customary reading by the fireplace, the usual warmth felt tinged with a subtle chill. Aska, usually boisterous, was quieter than usual, perhaps sensing the unspoken tension between his parents. Kuro and Shiro, curled by the hearth, seemed to watch the flickering flames with an unusual intensity. Alyssa tried to focus on the ancient legends her father read, tales of valiant knights and mythical beasts, but her mind kept returning to the snippets of conversation she had overheard. War. Taxes. Senator Vane. Traitors. These words, once distant echoes, now felt like ominous drumbeats, growing steadily louder. She glanced at her father, his face etched with a weariness she hadn't noticed before. Then at her mother, whose gentle smile seemed a little more strained. And finally, at Aska, still lost in his dreams of heroism, unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. The Elvian Duchy, for all its beauty and peace, was not immune to the currents of the wider world. The kingdom, once a beacon of stability, was now a ship adrift in a turbulent sea, guided by a weak hand and steered by a manipulative one. And at the heart of that storm, unknowingly, was Alcia and her family. The golden cage, once a symbol of their blessed existence, was beginning to feel like a trap, its bars slowly, imperceptibly, closing in. The innocence of their lives, like the last rays of the setting sun, was fading, preparing to give way to a long, dark night. The curse, though yet unnamed, had begun its insidious crawl,